who is a former Supreme Court judge. Some of you might have read his name in the newspapers, and he was appointed as an arbitrator or a mediator for some very famous cases by the Supreme Court of India. He's a lovely gentleman, of course, very approachable and very much involved in mediation after he retired as a Supreme Court judge. So yeah, he's talking to me about the role of the judge in a mediation and how even judges can help kind of
Hi everyone, I am sitting down with Justice Korean Joseph. This is an absolute privilege to have him speak to us at the Goa Mediation and Reconciliation Center inaugural. My name is Jonathan Rodriguez. I'm a young mediator myself, and of course it's been, I consider Justice Korean Joseph someone who has been an inspiration to me and many other young mediators starting out, because he has been someone who has been non-controversial and at the same time been someone who has motivated us in any small initial projects that we took on to kind of find our feet in the mediation space. So I'm going to jump straight to it, but for those of you, I know that most of you will know Justice Korean Joseph CV, and if I start reading it out, it's going to take me hours. So I'll just briefly summarize it. Justice Korean Joseph is a retired judge at the Supreme Court of India. Since retirement, Justice Joseph has been focused on using ADR processes such as mediation, arbitration, and conciliation to support parties to find sustainable and long-lasting solutions. He is routinely appointed by the Supreme Court of India and various other high courts across the country as a mediator and an arbitrator. He's also on the panel of mediators at the Singapore International Mediation Center and Camp Arbitration and Mediation Practice. Justice Korean Joseph, thank you so much for finding time for us today. All right, let's
always.
Sorry, sir, go ahead.
I said it's a pleasure always to support the cause, and it's always a pleasure working with people like you also who are committed to this great cause.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. Let's get straight to it, because I think what we really want to break down for the audience today is the role of the judge and the role of the judiciary in promoting mediation in India. And in this noble cause put together by Pedru Arupe Institute and Nirmala Institute of Education, two very well-respected organizations back in India. And we're talking about different roles in the mediation room. And with you, we would like to talk about, a role of the judge, because even outside the mediation room, there is somebody who can play a very important role in furthering mediation. So, Justice Joseph, the simple question is, what role does a judge have in identifying suitable cases for mediation and then encouraging disputing parties to try mediation?
Yeah, Jonathan, to me, the most pivotal role in facilitating a mediation is in the hands of a judge only.
Okay.
Well, once it comes from a judge, the parties have a different feel altogether.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than their advocates telling them, or rather than their friends telling them, or relatives telling them.
Right.
The judge says, why don't you make an attempt? This one suggestion, and if you can have a second word, that after all your dispute is only this much. Why do you fight? Why do you spend your money, time, energy unnecessarily? Why don't you, without at least all your condenses, why don't you make an attempt for a settlement? After all, you reduce this. So if such an observation, a simple observation, all that judge needs to do a little homework in identifying a case, because all cases are not to be subjected to mediation, to be very frank. There are very hard questions of law, which a judge will have to take a call after hearing both sides and analyzing the position and perspectives, yes. But in my experience, even in the Supreme Court of India, I would make a reasonable estimate that 50% of the cases are giving is worth trying for mediation on the civil side. Not on the criminal side, of course, appeals, etc. But on the civil side, probably more than 50% cases which could give an entry. Because there are cases people are tired of litigation. So even in the High Court side also, in the Indian scenario, when a civil dispute reaches civil or family, or such disputes reach the High Court stage, maybe after 10 to 15 years, on a reasonable estimate. But even on the trial side, if we can have certain encouragement of the judge actually analyzing the facts and briefing the parties that this is all your case, and forget about all your legal rights, but ultimately what you want is a solution,
Right.
and what you want is a resolution. So I think that just that way, the most important role is in the hands of the judge in identifying a case and encouraging a mediation.
Perfectly said, Justice Joseph. And do you think, because I want to touch upon what you said there about, that when that one line comes out of a judge's mouth to say, why don't you try? There's an element of trust there, right? Because there is a trust that is built, the client has waited sometimes for weeks, sometimes months, sometimes years. It could be even a decade to, reach that courtroom, after so many hearings. And he or she just wants to reach the end of this and find justice. And there's also that anticipation that I'm waiting for what the judge has to say. The judge has that, he knows how he can bring me relief. So that there's the trust factor, don't you think?
Yeah.
And especially in family disputes, Justice Joseph, because the aim and objectives of GMRC in Goa is to kind of, rebuild relationships, rebuild the trust within not only families but also communities. How much do you think a role, of say judges here in Goa could play to kind of further that, goal and objective that GMRC has?
Yeah. See, Jonathan, what is essentially a dispute in the family? It's actually the stems from, or rather, I always say the epicenter is a strained relationship.
Right.
A strained relationship between maybe the husband and wife, the father and children, or among the relatives. So if you're able to identify, we always in mediation, the underlying cause, where it stemmed from. So the mediation, I think, is the best solution to be tried for settling the family disputes.
Right.
And as you said, community disputes. Even community disputes, this is something, it's an evolving trend now. So there are a lot of disputes within the community. And if you see the traditional way of settlement in the Indian situation is concerned, when there were no courts or where there were no people were not, it was not possible for people to have easy access to courts. All these disputes in the family or within the community were settled by leaders in the community.
Right.
And unless they are settled, a legal solution through court will not give peace in the society, because inter-community disputes or intra-community disputes both are a threat to the peaceful coexistence in society. So it affects the peace and the development in society. So those are all disputes where it's not a case where in a court they are tried and one side wins and one side loses, and the losing party always will have that hurt feeling. So these are all situations where both sides should have a feeling that we have not lost, but we have a fairly comfortable and fairly equitable situation where we both of us are at peace. And if we want to be at peace, there should have a feeling that I have not lost and he has not unjustly won. So both of us have not lost, but both of us have won. So this also, mediation is the best thing, because any other method, there will be some imbalance in giving justice. Whereas in a mediated settlement, it will be an equitable distribution of justice.
Beautifully said. You're talking about the famous win-win jargon that we use a lot in the mediation setting. But Justice Joseph, you also know that easier said than done. However, you have been someone who has done plenty of mediations, not just post-retirement, but also as a judge in the Supreme Court. I've heard stories from a lot of people that Justice Joseph was the person to go to, and you you wished you had Justice Joseph as your judge because he, especially in say family business disputes, because you had a sense of empathy, you could connect with the people a lot. And so you have done a lot of commercial mediations as well, a lot of, very high stake community disputes as well. And, there's a lot that's in the news about the mediations you're doing. But as a judge, you have helped restore a lot of relations among families. Can you share any small particular case where you felt like you really made an impact in the family's life and, helped them find a resolution?
There have been several such situations. The children were quite happy that finally the disputes within their parents got settled, and they are the happiest of them because they are the torn people because the disputes between the parents, so they become the casualty and they are sandwiched between, they're torn apart actually. So there are children who have written to me also that we are so thankful and because we have found a solution and we are living now. I've seen tears of joy just running, literally tears rolling down the eyes of many people when they finally got a suggestion that this is your case and this is how this is going to be settled, and then they come back. They say, they have literally, because I always, particularly in family disputes, I try to have the people, even if they part, they part as friends.
Right.
There's no acrimony left. They shake hands and then, but the very, very moment I've seen tears rolling down. I've also seen in commercial disputes also, people having a sigh of relief that, tomorrow we don't have to go to any court. Tomorrow we don't have to go to any lawyer. Tomorrow we don't have to take a bail. Tomorrow, day after tomorrow, we don't have to get an appointment, etc. So either with something here and there, but finally it's all over.
All right, I'm going to pause the video there because the conversation goes on for another 8 minutes, and I think we have everyone here, and there might be more who will join us, but thank you so much for making it on a Sunday afternoon. I know what that means, so I really appreciate it, and all of us at JMRC really appreciate it. I'm now going to introduce you to the coordinator of the Goa Mediation and Reconciliation Center, the young, dynamic, young lawyer from South Goa, Advocate Zaifan Dias. Round of applause for him, please.
Okay, a very good afternoon to each one of you. First of all, I thank you for making time out of your busy schedule on a Sunday and to come over here. I welcome you all to the Pedru Arupe Institute, Raya, South Goa for this inaugural function. Your presence indeed makes it worthwhile for us and gives us the hope and inspiration that we will achieve great heights through this initiative. At first, to formally introduce and to start this function, we will have the lighting of the traditional lamp, and for which I request the following people to kindly come up on stage and light the lamp. I first call upon Father Roland, the Provincial of the Goa Jesuits. I call upon Father Felix. I call upon Father Cedric to come up on stage. I call upon Dr. Rita Pace, Officiating Director, Tribal Institute of Education, and Sulata Lodnikar, Counselor, to kindly come up on stage. Father Felix is not present with us, I guess. Just got that. Father Roland, I will request you to kindly lead to the honors. Thank you to each one of you. I would like to now call upon Father Roland, the Provincial of the Goa Jesuits, to kindly address the gathering.
Thank you, Zarifa. Good evening to all of you. Thank you very much for coming from different parts of Goa. Some have come from North Goa, left early after lunch, and some are from South Goa. And as Jonathan was rather surprised that people come in on a Sunday afternoon instead of enjoying a lovely siesta. But there's something special happening here, and I think you have made that choice to come here to learn a little more and to do something for society. My friends, I am delighted to be here as this new center, the Goa Mediation and Reconciliation Center, is launched. One part, the North Desk, was launched yesterday at Nirmala Institute of Education. Our friend and companion, Dr. Rita Pace, thank you very much, with all your good friends there. And the Southern Desk is at Pedru Arupe Institute with Father Felix, who is running around and getting some things done for us. And actually, this is happening because of these lovely young men here. Jonathan is a trained mediator, also from the legal fraternity. And Jonathan was a close friend of the Jesuits, has for some time over the last couple of years said, Father, can we do something about the conflicts that happen? Wonderful. And more recently we came to know Zaifan. Zaifan is an alumnus of Loyola School Margao. His teachers are here, so he's well behaved today. Sorry, Zaifan. Good guys. They've really taken trouble over these months to get this off the ground. And at the start, before I give a little my own spiel, my own little stuff here, I want to introduce some very fine people today. So on this Goa Mediation and Reconciliation Center team, it's a good team here. Jonathan, who has been the backbone of this and helped us to get this off the ground. Advocate Saifan. We have Dr. Rita Pace, Father Felix De Silva, who is the director of the Pedro Arupe Institute. We have Zina here, and we have Gayatri, Sulata, we have Donald, and we have Jose, who's not been able to come today. Whom am I missing out? Yes. Sister Delia, sorry, she will never forgive me for this. She's there, okay. Good. Yes, lovely people. Can you please clap for them? They're very fine people. Thank you so much. Good people because they could be doing something else. They are professionals in their own fields, but they have taken this up. And I want to tell you why. Many years ago, in my school cabin, office cabin, the primary headmistress came in and said, Father, there is a strange request today. She brought in a lady and she said, Father, put this lady sit down here in front of a chair in front of my desk. And she made that lady sit down, and the headmistress sat down and she said, could you call this boy, I've changed his name, Ajay, that's not his real name, could you call Ajay from the first standard? I trusted this headmistress, teacher Monica Fernandez, who had taught 40 years in the school, St. Paul's, Belgaum, a lovely person. So I trusted her. And I said, no hanky-panky here, I can trust her. And I went ahead. I sent for that little boy, Ajay. He came, first standard boy, very fine little boy. He came and said, good morning, Father, and how are you, and all this. And I asked him, are you studying well, and all this. Fine. He thought he was also going to be punished because, I'll tell you why, there's a background to this. This little boy, very strangely, had a sad habit, a sad habit, of taking those little pointers or pencils, and he would poke somebody's hand, another first standard boy, his classmate. Had done that a few times. We had to correct him, but we did not know what was happening.
Vijay came in, greeted me, said everything's well, I'm doing my homework, father, I'm not in any trouble, I'm not fighting with anyone. And he left the office and went up, that's all. And the lady in front of me broke down. She said, Father, that is my son. He had been taken away from her when when I think he was around 6 months old. And her husband had got a restraining order that the mother could not come near her son, her own son. And this was a way she had done, I don't know if it is legal or not, sorry about that, but she came into the office and was able to see her son. That's all she wanted to do. I'm sure any mother would have wanted to go and hug her own son, but she could not. The case had been dragging on for years. I followed up the same boy through his school life, my friends, but let's leave it for the moment there. It's not so. The point is this, you have your own experiences in your neighborhood, maybe in our own families. There's brokenness, there's fragmentation, there's conflict. Just now we had Justice Kurian telling us there is disputes that happen along with each other. Couples don't get along with each other. That's the reality. That's the truth about life. It is true. The Jesuits of the Goa province have a preferential option we say we will work hard for peace, harmony and reconciliation. Peace, harmony and reconciliation, related topics. Therefore this mediation center to do just that, to help people to sort out their disputes. My friends, sometimes we mess up inadvertently, not deliberately. Sometimes we make mistakes because we are human. Zaifan called me up a couple of days ago. I said, Father, what have you done? I have invited Justice Brito, MLA Carlos Ferreira, and on the letter I have written there, 5 p.m. They are good people, so they didn't scold me. And Carlos Ferreira he's got a program, so he said, I will come at 5 o'clock this evening. So if you see him coming in late, don't stare at him like that. Huh? That's my fault, not his. We mess up. We mess up because we are human and we make mistakes sometimes, but we can always do better. That's what the mediation center is about. Now friends, very quickly, I want to tell you the advantages. And I want you to see it through today's program. There'll be a simulation exercise from these people. These are trained mediators now. They'll put up a little drama, a little simulation in which they'll bring out these 5 points. And Justice Kurian has also mentioned them there. That mediation is a great option. This is what he said just now. It's a great option because it is efficient, it is cost effective, it is confidentiality, it is a collaborative process, and it is empowering. Efficient, my friends. Very efficient process. You know, legal battles can take years to go. Years. Sometimes delayed and, postponed and adjourned and whatnot. Mediation, properly done, both parties come to the table, can take days or weeks, can sort it. They will tell you how. Usually, not always, but very often. I told you it is cost effective. You know very well how much legal battles can cost. Mediation eliminates the need for legal fees, for court fees, but it's also good to have legal advice. So lawyers also play a very important part in this. They know the law and they can advise people rightly. There's confidentiality in this process. You're not there in the eye of the media where everybody needs to know, and dirty linen is held out in public, washed out there. No need. You can see, as Father Felix has placed at the corridor where the ribbon will be cut. There's a lovely glass thing, but everything is there. It is closed. People can discuss their problems face to face, and the whole world need not know about it. And mediators are bound by confidentiality, right, Gayatri? Yes. They can't reveal anything. Neither will they reveal to the other party, as far as I know. I said it's a collaborative process. Both parties coming together to bring up a mutually acceptable position. A mutually acceptable position. Justice Kurian said just now, I said, not that one loses and the other wins. And one goes away from the court dissatisfied and angry and hurt. In this, it is expanding the pie and saying, what's good for you, Zina, will be good for me, and we can both go away as friends. And the collaborative process is such that people learn to start talking to each other. And very often in mediation processes, people sometimes forget there's a mediator there and start talking to each other, people whom they have not been speaking to for a long time. And the fifth thing that I mentioned to you, it is empowering. Mediation is an empowering process. No top-down, somebody has decided on top, this is what everybody must do, you win, you lose. In mediation, these two parties are deciding for themselves what way to go, how to divide, how they will come together. And very often in this process, it is transformative and brings about reconciliation. And that's what we are after, my friends. My friends, I am not going to explain those points. They will explain very well today. These are the experts sitting here. They will bring it out today. If you have a little tea afterwards, you'll have chance to have little conversations. Don't waste this lovely time to mingle with each other and to ask them. They will also, there's time for Q&A? Yes. So you can ask your questions. As you see, jot down a little bit, ask them. They'll be happy to answer. They want this to be a process in Goa where people see it as an alternative dispute resolution process. We can bring people together. I'm very grateful to the Pedru Arupe Institute, to Nirmala Institute of Education. Thank you very much. Working together, coming together to help people in Goa, to empower them, to help them to be transformed, to build up peace and harmony in the state. Thank you. May God bless us all.
Thank you very much, Father, for your enlightening words. So now, I would like to tell you that the GMRC initiative is for all the people of Goa. And for this, we have carved a logo which will give a distinct presence for the GMRC initiative throughout Goa. And for this, I call upon Dr. Rita Pace to kindly launch the logo. This is the logo of the Goa Mediation and Reconciliation Center. As you can see, there are two hands coming together and the dove above, which symbolizes peace. What we want to do is to get peace in the lives of all the people in Goa. And now we shall go to the launching of the website. We also want to maintain a good social presence, and for this we have created a website, and I request Dr. Rita to kindly launch the same. This is the website of the Goa Mediation and Reconciliation Center. Its website link is gmrcgoa.org. It will be updated on a regular basis with all important information and all contact information about how you can find us and how you can help and get your issues resolved through the Mediation Center. Now we shall go to the presentation. Thank you, Dr. Rita. Before I start with the presentation, I would like to tell each one of you that you will get a time to settle all your queries, all your doubts, clarifications, get it sorted out. So please get them noted on your electronic devices. And when the time comes from the Q&A session, please get them rectified by us. Okay? Going on to the Goa Mediation and Reconciliation Center, exactly what we are going to do over here. Next slide. So, what we will be doing? We are going to be having mediation services given through the GMRC. Mediation services are services of out-of-court dispute resolution system. Now, these are not services of consultation, guidance, or counseling of any kind. This is a legal dispute resolution system of mediation, of settling your disputes out of court. And this is what we are going to give to the GMRC initiative. Our goals, first of all, is to provide a base, a podium to which you can settle your disputes out of court in a very speedy and swift manner. Secondly, it is to offer legal yet professional dispute resolution system for family disputes. So right now, the GMRC only will be involved with family disputes in Goa. It will help us saving time, it will help us become tolerant and speak to our family members. We all speak to our family members, but some of us do have some kind of friction. We will try to smoothen out things over there. Next. So, the GMRC center is one center, one initiative, one center. But we have two chapters, and this is just for jurisdictional basis. And the North Goa Center is housed in the Nirmala Institute of Education. It was already inaugurated yesterday, and that center is for the North Goa people. So if you know any North Goa people, you can tell them to go to our center in Nirmala's. You will get the same services over there, the same mediators over there. There's nothing different. It's only a jurisdictional difference over there. Okay, coming to the main thing about the GMRC initiative. And this thing I'm going to repeat another time. It is a philanthropic initiative. This is a non-money-making, non-profit initiative. Yes, it will not be given on a free basis. There will be a compensation, there will be a prize given, which will be decided a substantial amount, a very limited amount, given to compensate the mediators, because the mediators are professional people who have done a mediation course and trained as mediators. But there is not going to be any profit-making machinery over here. It's entirely a philanthropic initiative. Also, the second and one of the most important things, this initiative is launched and is for everyone. It is a secular initiative. It is not coming, nor it is given for any specific community, any people of any specific religion, any people of any specific diversities. It is irrespective of any kind of diversities, any kind of differences. We want to give it to the people of Goa. Everyone in Goa is going to get to benefit from this. Okay, now to give us the mediation services. We have partnered with a law firm in Bangalore who has a niche in mediation. And they are in mediation for the past 8+ years, and are doing professional mediation in a number of matters. And they are the Center for Arbitration and Mediation Partners Practice Limited, also called as CAMP. We have signed an agreement with them, an MOU, to partner with us and to give us the technical advice that is required to do the mediation services. They will give us the entire list of things what we have to do, and to get through the mediation service in a very professional and a very bespoke, customized manner. So that each one's issue, which is different from others, because family issues are all different, they will be getting a bespoke, customized service. Now remember one thing, here confidentiality will be maintained. CAMP won't be getting access to any of the client files. They only will be guiding us and giving us a technical support. They will not be having any access to your client files. The client files, the client confidentiality documents will only be with the mediator and with the clients. And also, our mediators are trained by the CAMP. Along with it, they are trained to the Edwards Mediation Institute, which is one of the renowned institute in USA. Now, basically, the GMRC initiative is for everyone in Goa. We are not having any specific people that we want to target. But we have a certain classification of people that we would like to help. And we would like to actually go out and make a difference to their lives. The first thing is senior citizens. Because we have seen a lot of them just coming inside, going out of the court, sitting over there, thinking that today their case will get over, and then going home with a very dark face. Because they do not know what's happening. Sometimes they do not know where their case has reached. And sometimes the sad part is they do not even survive to see the end. And then their great-grandson, who is partying all outside Goa, comes to Goa and is enjoying their property. He doesn't know anything what has happened. So we want to help the senior citizens. Secondly, children in broken marriages. As Father Roland told you, how a child gets affected emotionally and mentally. And this takes a toll on his life, and through his life, he can make another person's life also bad. And so we want to help these children, we want to help their parents find a proper solution and reconcile. The award, or you can say the final resource that you get from mediation is reconciliation. Reconciliation cannot occur without a successful mediation. Thirdly, couples seeking separation. It is very sad to see when you see couples coming to court for matrimonial proceedings. Some of them feel uncomfortable. And some of them feel, why are we here? We have not done something wrong. The partner with us something wrong. We want to do something good for them and give them a proper base where they can settle their dispute in a confidential manner as well as remain comfortable. Estranged siblings. Many of us know about certain people who are not talking to their own brothers, sisters because of some issues, property related issues, something like that. We want to get things done for them and to get some solution for them. The lastly is youth in rehabilitation. Certain youth, when they fall in vices, addictions, they go to the rehabilitation center and they come out changed human beings. But then when they come out, they cannot come and enter the society. Sometimes their own parents find it difficult to accept them. So we are trying to do something good for them, get them and try to settle their issues and make them live their life in the future in a better manner. The benefits of mediation, which was already told very elaborately by Father Roland. First one is save time, money, health, restore your relationship. That is the meaning of reconciliation. You restore or reconcile your issues. You rebuild trust, you get peace, and also, most importantly, you have confidentiality. The confidentiality will be only within your family, your issues, your family dispute parties, and also the mediators. It will not go to anyone else. Now, mediation is entirely legal. Let me make that very clear. Mediation is legal. It is not litigious. What does it mean? It means that it doesn't have the aspects of a litigation, but is entirely legal, and it is an entirely legal way of settling a dispute. The section 89 of the Code of Civil Procedure, which is used for settling civil disputes, mentions mediation as a proper way of settling a dispute. Apart from that, section 9 of the Family Courts Act also gives the powers to the courts to refer cases to mediation. And we also have the mediation bill, which is going to be coming up very soon, which will help parties to get mediation done in the most suitable manner. Now, how will the mediation work at GMRC? For this, I call upon Jonathan to take over.
Thank you, Zyphon. A round of applause for Zyphon, please. The talk about GMRC began quite during the pandemic stage, somewhere in 2020. In fact, we had conceptualized GMRC even before they got the vaccine, but it took us almost 2 years to roll this out. And we finally managed to roll it out because of Zyphon. He's at the wheel now. He's the coordinator for the Goa Mediation and Reconciliation Center. We found him and we threw him into the deep water, and we managed to put together this inaugural right now. Also, the major difference between Zyphon and me, if you have not noticed it yet with our dressing attire, is that he is a practicing lawyer and I'm not. This is how GMRC will work. I just try to really simplify it for you. Zyphon mentioned that we'll be working very close with CAMP, Arbitration and Mediation Practice, which is one of the premier mediation institutes in India. I worked with them myself for 3 years, over 2 stints. I know they bring quality and standards to mediation practice in India, but they're not the only ones around, of course, and I have had the good fortune of working with a lot of mediators across the country and also globally, and I'm going to try and bring in the best experience from all parts of all corners of the world to make sure that we have, as Zyphon says, bespoke services for Goa. Things that work for the rest of the world might not work for us here, and so we're going to try and customize it so that we feel comfortable with the process here. All right, so we are working very closely with CAMP, we are working very closely with other technical advisors, and all these updates will come on the website very, very soon. there are different supporting organizations, our board of advisors. All these things will be updated over the next few weeks. They're also going to work on the process and the structure of what that mediation session will look like. In a few minutes from now, you will watch a live simulation on the stage, role played by our trained mediators. But what you will see there during the next, during the role play will only be stage 4, all right? But I just want to kind of quickly run you through the other stages that you will experience if you are mediating with GMRC. So, to really simplify it, it will start with initiating a mediation. Someone has to come forward to us and say that I have a case or I have a situation in the family where if it's already gone to, I'm sorry I use the word case because it's just out of habit of studying law, but it doesn't have to be a case. It can just be a situation, it can be a conflict, it can be a dispute, and you say, I have this dispute with my brother, or I have this dispute with my mother, or my father, or my children, and you say, I really want to try and resolve this dispute, and so you make that first initial contact with us. For now, that first initial contact will be via email, all right? And even if you call us up, you will be then requested to send us an official communication via email. We understand that some people might not have access to technology and might not have confidence in sending out proper emails. That's fine, you don't have to worry about it. As Zyphon said, this is also something that we want to make sure we cater to the senior citizens. And I'm not sure about whether my grandmother, both of them are dead now, but if they were alive, I don't think any of them would be able to use an email. So I don't expect everyone to be able to use an email. So for those people who are not being able to communicate with us via email, we will have somebody at both centers, at both desks, sorry, in the north and the south to make sure that that documentation is put in place. So once you reach out to us and you say you want to try mediation with whoever you have a conflict with, we will begin the mediation intake process. We will ask you a few questions of what it is about, who's involved, how long has this been going on for, have you tried to reach out to the other person, what has been the response so far. So there'll be a bit of a chat that will go on between you and Zyphon, who will be on the other side of that conversation to get to understand that situation. Zyphon and me at this point of time are the only administrators who will have access to that email because of confidentiality purposes. And so we will then determine whether that case is suitable for mediation or not, because not every case is suitable for mediation, as Justice Joseph was mentioning there. I know that Justice Pedru has a different opinion on this. He says that every case is suitable for mediation, or every case can be mediated. But so then we'll decide how we want to go about it. Whether this case is suitable for mediation, we have understood what the complexities of that are. The next question will be, is the other person ready to come to the table and have a conversation with you? And at that point of time, we might have two answers coming out from you. That one is yes, I've already spoken to them and they want to try it out, or no, we would like you to reach out to them and bring them to the table. And GMRC will help you, assist you in inviting them to the table. We cannot force them, we cannot summon them, we cannot go knock on the door and pull them out and bring them to a mediation table. So we will invite them through different means. It'll be through email, through phone calls, through messages, and then we'll try our level best to bring them to the table. Because as Father Roland said in the start, it's a voluntary process. So the other side can always say no. But for the last 5-6 years of doing this, I know that I have made calls to people who have said no to me, who have shut me down in 30 seconds, and then have called me back after months and said, I think you called me regarding mediation, I had forgotten about it, and they said, we want to try it now. So people change, as you know, as we have all experienced. Over time, things change, sometimes especially in dealing with family disputes. Sometimes a birth in a family, a death in a family changes people towards each other, and they might want to go back to that call and say, hey, I want to try that out. So that door will always remain open. We will never shut that door, and we'll say, if you're not feeling comfortable right now, you can say yes to this whenever you feel like. So if it was Gayatri who reached out to me and she had a dispute with Sulata, then I would, and Sulata says no in the start and says, no, I'm not going to try and mediate with her. She's ridiculous. I don't want to talk to her. And Gayatri had warned me. Sulata would say that about me. So now I would, at that point in time, I would say to Sulata, that's okay if you're not feeling comfortable right now. Gayatri has made that initiation. She would have loved to have that conversation with you, but JMRC is here for you, and do reach out to us when you're feeling comfortable. And then we pause that situation right there and we move on. And we tell Gayatri, of course, that it's not happening. Now, we are optimistic, of course, and we trust our skills. Hopefully, we will work hard. We will spend at least 2 or 3 or 4 weeks to, with the other side until we pause it, to try and bring them in. All mediators are optimistic. If we were not optimistic, we would not be mediators. So we will work hard to bring the other side to the table, and we will get their yes, hopefully. And then starts the third stage, which is the pre-mediation call with the mediator. So then you will have to choose your mediators. We have, at this point in time, 8 trained mediators with GMRC. We will grow and build that community of mediators over the span of the next few months and years. But as of now, we have trained mediators who have undergone intensive training, and they are ready to help you with your dispute. So they will have that first pre-mediation call with you to understand your case better, to prep you for the mediation emotionally, mentally, factually, to make sure you're coming to the mediation with the right frame of mind, the right intentions. So there's a lot of work that they will do with you to make sure that when you come to the mediation, and in this case you would be in Raya, right? If you were in North Goa, then you would be at Altino, at NIE, but before you get here, you are prepared, and you're not just coming here for a jaywalk and then saying, oh, I didn't know what it was about, and then you walk back again. No, there'll be a lot of prep work done, because we don't want you to get onto your vehicles and get to Pedru Arupe without you knowing what you're signing up for. So that stage is very, very important. And the success of stage 4 and stage 5 depends on stage 3. So we will spend a lot of time there with you. Then, of course, you will see mediation. Once they have both said yes, the fees are arranged, everything has been agreed on, the mediators agreed, there'll be a very little documentation that will be signed about, we call it in mediation terms, the agreement to mediate, where you say, yes, I agree to mediate, I voluntarily want to try this. I have no conflict of interest with Zina as the mediator, or Gayatri as the mediator, or Sulata as the mediator. We understand that it's a confidential process, so all these are things that you will basically sign up to in a 2-page document, and then we start. Hopefully, that stage 4 can go on, I don't want to be over ambitious here, but I have seen mediations settle in 5 hours and 6 hours. I've seen mediations sometimes takes 5-6 weeks. Some mediations are very, very complex. You know, families who have really struggled for decades sometimes take 5-6 months. But everything is possible. I've seen it all, and our mediators have seen it all. The magic of mediation is unbelievable. You'll have parties saying, this will never work. And you will realize when you meet her, or you meet him, how stupid he or she is. And they'll say things to us like this. And once it's ending, once the mediation is coming to the close and they're reaching an agreement, you'll see the change happen, and they're suddenly completely different to each other. Okay, this is not us giving you false promises that every situation will be settled, but we have seen the magic of mediation taking place. So, mediation happens. Do you know the average lifespan of a court case in India? Anyone? Civil court case? Average lifespan? Any guesses? 15 years? 17 years? Average, okay? You are right, ma'am, it's somewhere between 12 and 15 years. The average timeline of a mediation, especially in family or civil disputes, is somewhere between 15 to 25, sometimes 40 hours. So, just balance that on the scale, all right? I don't have to say anything more. I think those numbers speak for themselves. I'm not trying to sell you a product here by giving you those numbers. I'm just saying that if you try this for, you don't even have to try it for 15 hours. I'm saying you try it for 2 hours, it might make that difference between you then slogging it on for generations to come. All right. Hopefully you reach a settlement. So there'll be a mediation settlement agreement that will be drawn up by both parties. If their lawyers are in the room, then the lawyers will assist the parties in drawing up that settlement agreement. It's not necessary that you have a lawyer, and we'll discuss about this later. But if the lawyer is in the room, that's great. We draw up a mediation settlement agreement. Both parties sign. GMRC puts a seal on it. The mediator also signs, and we move on. There'll be a post-mediation call with the mediator, where the mediator catches up to make sure that both parties have kind of kept up their promises that they put in the agreement, settlement agreement. Make sure that they've got feedback from the parties. That's very important to us. The follow-up meetings with the mediator is something that is also very close to us, because we want to make sure that we have made an impact. And it's not just those 4 hours or 5 hours that you're with us, or whatever it takes, maybe 15 hours or whatever, but there is that sense of accountability and responsibility. So we will follow up with both parties in 3 intervals, maybe 3 months, 6 months, and 1 year, and then we'll let you go. But you can always tell us after 3 months and say, stop following up, we're good, and we will stop following up. It's just we want to make sure that you're doing all right after the mediation. So that's me trying to summarize for you what it's going to look like. I'm sure you have a lot of questions. Hold on to them, because what I want to now get straight to is, while you're nice and fresh and have not begun to slip into your afternoon siesta, is have a little role play. If you can have the mediators getting ready already, and if you can give me that intro by the time you'll get ready, so I can. All right, great. We're going to have a live simulation here now to show you what a mediation is going to be like. Now, as I said, a mediation session at GMRC might be around 4 to 5 hours during the course of a day. We're going to try and crunch that into 50 minutes now. And so therefore, don't think that it's going to be as smooth as this. So, but we're going to give you basically a teaser of what to expect if you had to sign up for a mediation session at GMRC. Okay? There's a structure that the mediator follows. It's a very flexible process, mediation, and the parties get to design the process. The parties get to decide when they would be meeting, right? It's quite different to a court scenario, right? Do you get to decide when can you go to court? Does the judge call you up and say, can you make it on Tuesday at 5 o'clock? I thought that's a good time for me as well. No, you get summoned to court, right? And there's a reason why it's done. Because of course, it's an adversarial process and both might not turn up. But this is a voluntary process. So the parties themselves decide what time works for them, and they will make sure that they are there at that time with the mediator. All right? So, yes. So we're going to try and crunch this process down for you in 50 minutes to basically for you to understand what to expect from a mediation. So I want you to look out for 3 things, okay, while this role play is going on, while this simulation is going on. One is, look out for the process and how you might see it to be different from either a courtroom scenario, or another thing that we are confused with a lot is counseling. Mediation is very different from counseling. If I start to explain the differences, it will take me quite some time. You might see the differences already. There are small elements there. There are small elements that are quite similar to counseling, and no mediator will deny that. And actually, half of our mediators are actually trained counselors and practicing counselors. So they bring that expertise to the table as well. But remember, they are not counselors yet. They are wearing a completely different hat. And someone like Sulata and Gayatri will tell you that as trained counselors, when they went for their mediator training, they found it quite tough to take off their counselor hats for some time and put on their mediator hats. And that's what made their training even more intense. It was a 3-month training that they went through online. So yeah, you'll see the different skill sets. So watch out for that. I want you to watch out for the skills that they put in practice to kind of get through the impasse, get through the roadblocks that they face. And also I want you to look out for those moments where the change takes place in the mediation, and how there's a cathartic effect that starts to brew between the parties which did not exist before. All right. As I said, right now in this simulation, there are just 2 parties and the mediator. And of course, there's a lawyer, of course, joining one of the parties. I see. As usual, he was at another hearing, so he's running a little late. Zaifan, are you the lawyer for Vivek? Okay, great. So let me just give you a little background to the case. Now, in a mediation, by the way, that's Sarah. Sarah, can you put a hand up for the crowd, please? Yes. Vivek. All right, great. Now, Vivek's come with a lawyer, as you noticed there, but Sarah has not. Is that okay? It's okay, because before the mediation began, remember we are at stage 4 now. In those first 3 stages, they have signed an NDA that where Sarah has said, you know what, it's okay if Vivek brings a lawyer, I don't need one, I can represent myself, but I'm happy for Vivek to have his lawyer with him. All right, so that is an arrangement that is pre-agreed. You just can't surprise the other side with a litany of your lawyer and counselor and some other chartered accountant and financial advisor and whoever else and ambush the other side. So everything is agreed on before who's going to come to the table. All right, so that's Vivek's lawyer, and of course Gayatri is your mediator. Great. So quickly, this is the background to the simulation. First of all, any characters being played here or the story is completely fictitious. So the names used are not real. So if it reminds you of people or places, it's completely coincidental. The Viegas family started Balcão, a very upscale restaurant in Colva, in 1990. Headed by the patriarch, Mr. Vegas, the restaurant was staffed by his wife, the head chef, and eventually the two children, Sarah and Vivek. In 1998, Sarah had taken over as the head chef. Sarah took over as the head chef, and Vivek actually headed to UK to study his further studies. By the time the restaurant was in the 20th year, the restaurant had earned very high reviews and a terrific following. Eventually, Sarah's husband, Ajay, had come on board as a manager, and the two of them continued in the tradition of their parents. In 2010, the Vegases slowly gave the management of the restaurant over to their daughter, Sarah, and basically took a back foot. So the mother and father took a back foot in the business and handed over the entire business to Sarah, their daughter. Meanwhile, Vivek, after graduating from university, took up employment in the UK with a prominent investment bank. He married and eventually had 3 children of his own. Living in the UK was perfect for Vivek and his family, except for unfortunate circumstances, which then led Vivek to reevaluate his life decisions. After much careful thought, Vivek and his wife decided to move the family back to India in 2015, back to Goa. Initially, they were welcomed back to the restaurant by Sarah, and Ajay both tried to adjust with the management. Sarah continued as the executive chef, and Ajay continued as a day-to-day manager. So Sarah continued as the executive chef, and her husband continued as a day-to-day manager. But Vivek, who just came back from the UK, took over the business operations. Sarah and Ajay were working on earning their first Michelin star, while Vivek was focused on increasing profits and exploring other ways to expand the business. Tragically, Mr. Vegas, the father, fell ill in 2018 while Mrs. Vegas was taking care of her husband. The relationship between the siblings strained, as each had their own ideas about the future of the business. Mr. Vegas passed away in 2020, and in his will, he left an equal share of property to both Sarah and Vivek. However, the restaurant was left to, any guesses? How many of you think he left the restaurant to Sarah? Yeah, great. He left the restaurant to Vivek. After unsuccessful attempts by Mrs. Vegas, the mother, to reconcile the differences between her children, Sarah sued Vivek for her legal rights. But luckily they had a family friend who said, why don't you try out mediation?
I would like to welcome you to the Goa Mediation and Reconciliation Center, and we have all of today to find a middle point to our conflict that you talked about. Before we begin, I'd like to just go through a few process details about the mediation. I know we've had a few talk on the phone, but let me restate a few things. I first of all congratulate you on choosing the process of mediation to resolve this conflict, and we'll do our best to find a middle ground today. The process itself is completely driven by you. I will be the facilitator, and I will encourage the dialogue between you, Sarah, and Vivek, and will help you find a middle ground that works for both of you. I'm an unbiased party here, and I assure neutrality, and I also offer absolute confidentiality. So anything that is spoken in this room will not be made available in case it does go to the legal process. I'm hoping that won't happen, and you will be able to find a settlement today. And I'm going to give my entire day to this process. I hope that you will also, in an open-minded way, participate today to find a middle path. Of course, a small set of details, like we will take a break for lunch today. Morning and afternoon you'll be served a cup of tea, but anything at all that you need to make yourselves comfortable here and we can provide, we'd be happy to provide. You have notepads here, so anything that you have in terms of questions that come up for you, please note it down so that you don't interrupt each other when you're talking, when one person is talking. So if Sarah is talking, Vivek, you have a question, you can just note it down and we'll take it a little later. And of course the cell phones, let's all switch our cell phones to the silent mode so that we are not interrupted at all, and we can proceed. And if we feel that we are reaching a settlement point towards the end of the day, I am open to spending a little more time to reach that final settlement. So I hope neither of you has any time constraints. We will try to end by 6, but I'm open to a little extra time if I feel like we are reaching that there. This is as far as my opening goes, and at this point I would like Sarah and Vivek to, both of you can give a little bit of idea of where you are in this conflict, your point of view, your perspective on the conflict. Sarah, you can go first simply because you are the one who has initiated the mediation process, no other reason, so can you please begin?
I don't know where to start. I'm actually, Balgaon is everything to me. And my parents took me in to run Balgaon, or to help them with Balgaon ever since 1998. By 2010, my parents were thinking of retiring. My mother was a head chef and she handed over that role to me. So I have been the head chef in Balgaon since 2010. And my husband Ajay joined me and he was the manager of the restaurant. You will not believe, but the amount of effort and pain we have gone through to bring Balgaon to what it is today, the repute that it has, and the dining experience that you get with Balgaon, you are not going to find in any restaurant in Goa. I'm so passionate that we're even working towards our first Michelin star. Vivek came down from the UK and he joined us and things were fine. We were managing to work together. But, over a period of time, we were both not agreeing with each other. Our differences increased. And he wanted to open more franchisees. He wanted to brand Balgaon. I could not see where this was going. How can we brand Balgaon? There's one Balgaon. I am one person managing Balgaon, and that's what we get out of Balgaon is what I am doing and the controls I have. Just expanding Balgaon, to increase the number of restaurants doesn't work. But that's not it. In fact, my father fell ill, things got worse. And then after my father passes away, he just slaps me with a will. And he says that this, you have no say. It's my decision. I will decide and go forward, do whatever I want because Balgaon has been willed to me. How can that be? Balgaon, I was the one with Balgaon. He told me that I have no rights. Am I not the child of the same parents? He has not put in the effort in Balgaon like I have put. And that is most hurtful.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarah. Is there anything you'd like to add? Okay, I know this is really upsetting for you and I'm hoping we'll find some way to reach some middle point. Vivek, may I request you to now give your views on the conflict?
The dates and the facts that Sarah has given are mostly accurate, but that's almost as far as I agree with her. Of course, I do agree that she's put in a lot of effort, and Balgaon is what it is today because of her and Ajay's efforts. Ajay has very ably supported her throughout. But the truth of the matter is the restaurant belongs to me now. There's a will. It clearly states so.
That will is suspended. Sarah, we'll just allow Vivek to finish. I know you have some points that you want to make. May I suggest that you note it down so that he can speak uninterrupted? Thank you, Sarah. I'm sorry about that, Vivek. Please go ahead.
It was a conscious decision that I made after I wanted to wind up in the UK and I wanted to come back. I have been a part of the restaurant before I went. I have, my parents included me, though not as efficiently or as ably or as much of in an expert situation as my sister did, but I knew the running of the restaurant. So that was always a call for me that I can come back and run it along with my sister. And when I came back, it did seem, it was going well. But it's not true what my sister said that, you know, I'm just opposing her all the way. No. In fact, it's the other way around. When I came back, my father asked me whether I had made the right decision to come back after having lived in the UK for so long. And I said I did. I wanted to come back to my roots. And it was lucrative, it was a very interesting, it was a very satisfying being in the family business. So that's what I wanted to do. I discussed my business ideas with my father and he was extremely supportive because he knows what it is to be an entrepreneur. He knows what it is to start something from a scratch. I mean, Balgaon was not what it is today. It was a small venture. It's taken a lot of my father's efforts and of course then my sister's to bring it to the level that it is today. But we can't stagnate there, right? And my father agreed. My father agreed with my vision. And he said, yes, go ahead. Go ahead, Vivek, he said. I don't know why he didn't say any of this or why he didn't talk to my sister about it. So along with my talks with my father, I sort of started the talk with my sister, but she immediately came down. You saw the way she talks about it now? She was very vehement about it, said nothing doing. It's going to be only one unit. She's just not open to any dialogue. She's absolutely rigid. So, what do I do?
Thank you, Vivek. Thank you for giving your perspective on it. And I can see that both of you have certain anxieties about the process of expansion. And we'll talk about that. But right now, I would just like to go through a few clarifications. And this is based on my understanding from what you just spoke and from the briefs that I have got earlier. If you can just ensure that all the points we have is okay. It's 1990 that your parents started the business, and in 1998, that's when, Vivek, you went to the UK, and Sarah, you joined your parents to run the business. In 2010, it was 20 years since the business started. The business had taken off the ground, and your parents felt that they could retire and enjoy their time with your children and be grandparents, retired. And you took sole charge, and that's when Ajay, your husband, came in and joined the business to help you manage it, right? 2015, Vivek, you came back and you joined the family business, and everything seemed to be going okay until 2018 when your father fell ill, and that's approximately the time that, Vivek, you started talking about the expansion of the business, and you were looking at franchises and the expansion. 2020, your father passed away. That's when the will came in, and that's where the conflict escalated. Am I right? Yes, right? Okay, now that we have these details here, if I could request you, Vivek, if I can have a small meeting with Sarah, and perhaps you could get yourself another cup of tea. Mr. Naik, if you'd give us 5 minutes to be together. Thank you so much.
Okay, so what you have just seen right now is the opening stages of the mediation, where the mediator has given her opening statement, set the ground rules for the mediation, and have had both parties make that opening perspectives where they shared their side of the story, expressed their interest and what they want to achieve. This kind of took place in 10 to 15 minutes, but this can go on for an hour and a half in real life mediations. Okay, so now what the mediator has done is asked for private sessions, or what we call in the mediation vocabulary as a caucus. And so basically now she is speaking with one of the parties, and then she'll speak with the other party.
Sarah, I know this is really hard for you, and I can see this is making you all very emotional. I'm hoping that you will use this opportunity where we can discuss, how you would like to see this move forward. What are your views on how things should? If at this time, if there's anything that you want to share with me in confidence, please feel free to share so that I have more things to work on while we find the middle ground.
You see, this whole thing has actually broken our family. My mother hasn't had even time to grieve over my father, but she's so distraught with the way we are behaving with each other. She stopped relating to both of us. And she's depressed, actually depressed. For me, I'm really hurt at my mother's behavior. I actually sacrifice my youth to let him go for his studies. I had dreams. I wanted to do a culinary course in Switzerland, but my father couldn't afford to send 2 children for a foreign education. So he told me to stay back and help them with the restaurant. And he said, let Vivek go. And I had no choice there. But having agreed to do that, I put my all into the restaurant. Can you understand what it feels like? The restaurant is me. And it's everything. And then I got my husband Ajay also into it. So that is all we have.
It's very personal.
I don't know. And I've controlled it. I can't see the quality deteriorating and doing what he wants to do.
No, I didn't understand about the quality deteriorating.
You see, I'm controlling how Balkaon is running. I'm controlling the quality of the food. I'm controlling the dining experience that people have. And you're not going to get it if you keep on expanding and having franchises.
Okay, so your fear there is that if you have franchises, then the quality will suffer. And
Absolutely.
That's very important.
Absolutely. You can't have 10 Balkans in Goa having the same kind of quality that we've had so far.
Okay, so you see it as a single restaurant of superior quality, and that's your objection to the expansion.
Yes, and also right now I want Balkaon to go to a higher level. I'm looking at a Michelin star, and I think we're almost there. My first Michelin star. I want to get there. If I'm going to expand, this is going to suffer. Okay. And I'm not going to be part of the expansion. So this is so much and so strenuous. I have only 2 options with me right now. Either I continue and Vivek allows me to run Balkaon on my terms, managing the restaurant, or I'm going to just go out and start another restaurant of my own. I'm very capable of doing that. See how Balkaon has reached where it has reached today. My next alternative is I go to the court, and then God forbid, I don't know,
Sarah,
the court will take its own course.
Yes, Sarah, I think you've come into mediation, and let's be optimistic about finding a middle ground rather than go back to the idea that we'll have to go to the court. And of course that means a loss of family relationships, and I can see that's a very important part of where this conflict is, where both the brother and sister are fighting and the mother is really upset about it. So let's see if we can reconcile the family too in this process. in terms of finding alternatives, can you think of anything other than walking out of this venture altogether and starting up something of your own? Is there something you can think of? Because I know quality means a lot to you.
I would start a new restaurant. I would be competing with Balcom. I don't want to do that. That is my next choice. And again, I'm going to be competing with him. I mean, that's not what I want. I want to run Balcom. I've been there with Balcom. I don't know. He doesn't understand that.
Okay. Okay, Sarah. I can see this is very upsetting, very emotional for you. Balcom does mean a lot, so you wouldn't actually want to walk away from it. You would want to run it the way you were running it, and that's with certain amount of excellence towards food and service. So let's see how we can find that. Okay, Sarah, thank you so much for, is there anything you want to add? Because then I would call in Vivek and have talked with him. No?
Family. Our family is just going apart. I don't know.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Sarah. Thank you. Yeah. Vivek, if you can please come in and we can have a individual session. I hope you were able to get a good cup of tea there. Vivek, I've been having a conversation with Sarah about what Balcom means to her, and it appears she's very concerned about the quality of the food and the service, and she seems to think that Balcom stands for high quality, and that seems to be her fear, that she will lose quality if there is expansion. Do you think you can address that in any way and maybe give your perspective on this?
That's an absolutely absurd thing to say of.
Why is that?
I'm not going to start a chain of restaurants like McDonald's, please. I know what I'm talking about. I've tried to explain to her, but she's just not ready to listen. I would start one restaurant maybe, and it's going to be a studied venture. I'm not going to start one restaurant tomorrow. I'm a financial expert. I've helped set up a lot of businesses, and I've seen it through, right from the planning stage to its running stage. And I'm still taking feedback. I mean, I'm part of every planning stage because a lot of finance is involved and a lot of finance is at stake. So why wouldn't I do it for my own venture? I mean, of course, quality, I know what a restaurant is. I've not just come in today, and it's not a month that I've been in this business. I know what it takes for a restaurant to get the quality, for the reputation, and to maintain it and sustain it. It would be well planned, of course. Yes, and why would I not think of the quality? I mean, what is she talking about?
Yes, I guess quality would be important to you too, and you can't have multiple restaurants with a good name if you didn't maintain the quality. Do you think there is some way we can assure Sarah that the quality will be maintained? Because she is talking Michelin star, she is talking about high quality of food and service. Is there some way you can think of that you can assure her of that?
First of all, she has to get used to the idea that it's okay. It's okay that we have more than one restaurant. Especially after COVID. What has COVID taught us? That you can't put all your eggs in one basket. We have seen so many businesses going down the drain. If something goes wrong here, then what do we do? I'm trying to explain to her, but she's so closed about it. And I'm not trying to say you don't be in this restaurant just because it's will to me. I want her there. Because I know how attached she is to the restaurant. I know what a beautiful role she's playing. And I do give her and Ajay a lot of credit to Balcom being what it is today. I'm not trying to take anything away from her. I'm not trying to displace her. I've told her that. Just doesn't seem to understand.
How would you be willing to accommodate her if you were to accommodate her in this scheme of expansion? How would you be able to accommodate her? What would you say as the options that are available to reach some sort of middle ground?
First of all, her main point of contention is the will. That I should not have sole right to it, but that's my father's will. It's not that something I've dreamt about. I'm not trying to force something of my own. And it's, whatever it is, I mean, till now it's been a family business. She talks about it as if it's a personal asset. She will, if she is willing, she can continue doing what she's been doing. Ajay can continue being there in the restaurant. I'm making it very, very clear. I do not want her out of the restaurant. She will be part of the restaurant. She continues to do what she loves.
In what capacity? How would it work?
I've studied the market. I've had an expert consultation. I know what the compensation is for the roles which she does. I'm ready to pay her a generous salary so she doesn't feel cheated in any way.
Okay, so you're talking in terms of employment of both Sarah and Ajay and a generous salary. Do you envisage perhaps that she might feel a loss of sense of ownership, because she seems very intimately attached to it, and she's run the restaurant from 2010 to 2015 before you came in. I'm just wondering, are there other ways in which this can be worked out?
I could give her a salary plus a percentage in the profit, but no decision rights.
Okay, so what you're saying is you will retain the management decision, the rights to the management decision, but you will give her a generous salary and a percentage of the profit. So
yeah, I'm agreeable to 20% of the profit, since I'm proposing a salary also, salary and a 20% share in the profit.
Okay.
But again, no decision-making rights. That control I will have, because she's absolutely close-minded, and if I do include her in the decision-making, we are not going anywhere. I can see that.
Thank you, Vivek. And is there anything you'd like to add at this point? I know that this has been hard for you, both in terms of your relationship and the relationships of the families. I can see that's very much part of this conflict. Is there anything you'd like to share?
See, when we were, as a family, when we were trying to make the decision of where do we go after winding up in the UK, because we didn't want to stay there forever, my wife strongly suggested, it was her decision actually, that we come back to India and be with the family. And I saw the wisdom in that. But then my wife is not happy now. She's saying, why did we come here? You know, you are not talking to your sister, the children cannot play with each other, the children are not even visiting each other. We are so fragmented. Especially after Papa's death, so it's just gone down the drain. And for what? All over a restaurant?
Yes, I can see that the family dispute, the dispute has affected the family. And that's a big part of what this conflict is about. So, Vivek, if you're okay, we'll break for a short lunch, and is it possible for us to meet so we can discuss all the options that we can come up with? And Sarah, may I invite you back here? We need to put the board up. Um, Sarah, I hope both of you had a good lunch. Yes, and you're comfortable, yes. I'm just, I've done a little bit of homework while we were having lunch, and I have a set of options that I've put up. Excuse me. I have a set of options that I have put up based on my individual caucus meetings with the two of you, individually when I met the two of you. And I know this is probably not going to be the middle ground, but I'm sure we can begin from there and find a quick, find a middle ground as soon as we can. From our meeting, it appeared that Vivek, Sarah, you were quite clear that if Vivek were to get the restaurant, you're just going to leave and set up your own restaurant. I mean, yes. If the restaurant can't be run by you the way you've been running it, then there was no two ways that you were going to leave. Of course, one of the options was that Vivek gets the property and you get the restaurant and you continue to run it the way you were doing from 2010 to 15 on your own with Ajay. Vivek, you talked about maintaining management rights over it and giving Sarah a very generous salary to ensure that it is run in the way that she was running it. And you went one step further also to say that besides the generous salaries, you would be willing to give 20% of the profits so that there's a sense of ownership there for Sarah. I would like both of you to look at these options now and see if there's something that you feel is doable, if something works for you and you think that it's an option that you would consider. Sarah, he's talking about maintaining the control over the restaurant, but ensuring that you are compensated very generously with a good salary, and so also Ajay, and part of the profits too. We talked about 20%.
Getting a salary for something that belongs to me is out of question. I'm not an employee of that restaurant. I ran the restaurant. I need to manage that restaurant. And 20% of the profits? Where does that come from? 20% for me and 80% for him? How does that work? I'm also a daughter of the same parents. I cannot accept that. I'm sorry. It's not acceptable to me.
One of the things I noticed during the discussions was that both your roles were very distinct. You were talking about the quality. You were concerned about the quality of the food, yes, the quality of the service. And Vivek was very clear. He was going to look at the strategic part of it. He was the finance guy who was talking about expansion. He wanted to expand the business. And he cited COVID and the lessons we've learned to put our, wisely put our money in different areas so that we safeguard our investments. So I think both your roles are unique in that sense. They are not stepping on each other's toes in that sense. So I'm just wondering if we can find space in this family business for both your ideas of expansion and your expertise in finance and your passion for quality and of the food, of the service, and your belief that you can come together as a family. So I'm asking that both of you relook at this and see if there is something you can do to ensure that both your vision becomes integral to a united family business. Is that something you would consider?
Just look at her stand. Something that doesn't go her way, she just wants to drop everything and run away. It was always so. Is she even listening to my ideas? Is she even ready to give it a year? Where's a sense of commitment when she says, I want to leave the restaurant and start my own restaurant? The first step should be to see if it's working or not, right? This is why I cannot have her in any decision making. But she will be part of the restaurant, just as she's always been. With a 20% profit, I think that's fair enough, along with the salary. And she gets to do what she loves to do. And I'm not stopping her from doing what she loves to do. She wants to work at the Michelin star. I've never said that's over-ambitious. I know she can do it. I'm telling her to go ahead and do it. So why can't she let me do what I want to do? We just don't seem to be seeing eye to eye on this matter.
Sarah, perhaps you can think of a way in which Sarah can be involved in in what really matters to her, the quality of the food and the service. In this expansion plan, is there a space for her to be assured of quality? Sarah, I want you to think about it.
Can I have a word with my husband, please?
Yes. I'm going to use this little time to invite somebody here. She's been the owner and she's been waiting out there. I think we should give her a... Come. Please come. Sarah, you wanted to add something?
I mean, if I can manage the restaurant and I can have ownership of the restaurant, I want to be an owner. I've always been an owner. I want that. If I can get an ownership, I can consider.
Mrs. Vegas, I welcome you to this mediation, and we are working really hard to find some middle ground here. Is there something that you'd like to add at this point? You've been waiting outside.
Yes, I've been waiting for a long time, hoping there would be a solution. This whole episode is so distressing for me. I really don't know what to say. If their father was here, he would have been heartbroken to see them fighting over the business, over what he built up. All I want is that we become family again, that we have the same peace and harmony and love that we had for each other before all this started. If that can be done, I would be really happy. If only my two children could come together and sort out differences and live happily together.
Yes, Mrs. Vegas. Now, please make yourself comfortable outside, and we'll do all the best we can to reach that point of reconciliation. Sarah, I know this is really hard for you, and I'm hoping that at this point you have seen that your brother has made some attempt to move forward, and Vivek, if there's anything that you'd like to add at this point to move towards a middle ground, anything that you'd like to add?
Seeing Mama so distraught that's really making me think all over again. When I came down to India, the main objective was, I've always been close to my sister. We've always had a very great bond growing together. She's been like a mother to me. When my mother was busy with the restaurant, my parents were busy with the restaurant, she is the one who's taken care of me. She is the one who's guided me whenever I had any doubts, problems. She's been a big part of my growing up, of my life. So I want that sort of bond. I wanted that sort of bond between our families, my family, my children and her children. That was one of the primary reasons I came down. If she feels that me going ahead and me trying to be the owner and I'm trying to oust her out of her share or out of her what she's really wanting, I'm ready to accommodate her as she wants. She can be part of my restaurants. She can be, and I assure her that when I start my franchises, it's not going to be anything less than what Balkaun is. And she can come on board. She can train my staff, and it's not going to be 10 restaurants altogether. It'll be well planned, one restaurant, and maybe somewhere down the line we'll see how it goes, and then the next one. And she's welcome to be part of it. She can train my staff. She can train my chefs. She can be part of this. She'll be very, very welcome to do that. So that her fear is untrue, that the quality will remain what it is of this Balkaun.
Sarah, how do you feel listening to this?
I hear my brother say that, he's acknowledged so much, which really makes me even more emotional. He's acknowledged the relationship we've had. And he's ready to let me manage the restaurant. That's something I really want. I'm ready to assist him in his other restaurants when it comes to the cuisine. And he can do the financial part. What he says is right. We can't stay alone with Balkaun. We do have to expand. But the fact that he's acknowledged who I am, what I have done, and my role, and I do become a part owner of the restaurant, I think I'm good with that. And Mama will be so happy. And my children are longing to meet their cousins. We've been keeping our children apart. We'll be a family together again.
Yes, that would be very distressing. I've done a little bit of work here, and I'm looking at a proposal that I would like both of you to consider. If we are talking about ownership, we are talking now of a 50-50 ownership of the restaurant and property, and which is an equitable amount. And of course, like I said earlier, your roles are very distinct. So Vivek will be in charge of business strategy and expansion, and Sarah, you take complete charge of quality and running of the restaurant. So the quality service running is your forte. Of course, these details can all be worked out in a settlement agreement. It will take time, and we will work it out. We will work out all this which clarifies the roles, the responsibilities, the division of profit, any other provisions that we want there to make sure that the family business runs smoothly. So those details can be worked out. But essentially, we are talking about a joint ownership of the property and the restaurants, and very clear roles so that both of you are working within your strengths, contributing towards harmonious working of the family business. Is that something that works for the two of you? Is that what I'm understanding?
Yes. Yes, I think we can go.
Of course, like I said, this will take time to work out in terms of an agreement, but I think with this we have a middle ground that has worked for both of you, and I congratulate you, Sarah, for moving towards the middle ground, and I congratulate you, Vivek, for making all the gestures required to get to this place. And we will work together. Congratulations. Thank you, Mr. Naik, for assisting us ably. And thank you to the audience for being very patient with us.
All right, thank you very much, Gayatri, Sulata, and Zina, and of course Zaifan. As you saw the role of the lawyer, he was there. You didn't see him speak for almost 40 minutes, but he was there advising his client quietly, and that's how you see a lawyer playing a completely different role, a very, I would say, a passive role, almost like a sidekick to the parties. Mediation gives the parties the chance to be in the limelight, be center stage, making the decisions. They are the ones who are the real decision makers. But every time Vivek had to either make an offer or agree to an offer, Vivek would go back to his lawyer, Zaifan, who was sitting there, and checked in with the lawyer to see, is this all right? Is this legal? Does this make sense? So I have a whole 17-minute video, which I'm not going to play now, which we're going to release 3 or 4 videos tonight and tomorrow on our YouTube channel, and Zaifan will be sending a link to all of that to you. In one of the videos where I speak to Rukmani Menon, who is a director at Camp Arbitration and Mediation in Bangalore, we talk about the role of the lawyer. And if you ask me, what is the role of the lawyer? Does the lawyer have a place in a mediation? Yes. So if you have a lawyer, you can always bring the lawyer to the mediation. But the lawyer plays a completely different role. It's a more collaborative role that you're looking at for the lawyer. And if you ask me what are the 3 major skills, there are many skills that a lawyer brings to a mediation room, which the lawyer will not use in a courtroom. All right? And one of the things is that the lawyer becomes an emotional anchor to the parties. Remember, the parties are emotional. They are, they are just, there's so much of, I would say, vulnerability out there that's, brought them to the table. They can say things and, do things that might, just end the mediation and the other party just walks out of the room. So the lawyer becomes an emotional anchor for the parties in the room. The lawyer also works with the parties before the mediation starts to strategize with them on what are the possible options we can give, what can we expect from the other side, what we should take, what we should not take. And then, of course, the lawyer has a third role towards the end, when they're reaching towards the end there, towards that settlement agreement, once again helps them validate those offers at the table. So make sure that those are properly vetted. So there is a role for the lawyer at the table. I've been hearing messages from a few of my colleagues over the last few hours to say that make sure that you make it very clear that there is a role for the lawyer at the mediation. Yes, there is a role for a lawyer at the mediation table. This is something that I've been preaching for the last 5-6 years. However, I want to make it very clear that especially in family disputes, and the ones that at least I have mediated, a lot of family business disputes, the lawyer comes in towards the end, because the lawyer doesn't need to know who did what to the other, what did the brother say to the sister in 2005, and then what did the sister say back to the brother in 2008, and then what else went on somewhere else. That's all something very personal. And so what a lot of families and family businesses do is have the lawyer come in towards the end when they really require that kind of a legal advice with regards to the offers that they're putting in place. And I'm saying this specifically for family disputes, all right? But that doesn't mean that you cannot have a lawyer right from the start, right? There are certain family disputes where they don't even bring a lawyer at all. It's something that's just simple disagreement between siblings that they sort out with themselves and they get it done with. Kindly requesting you to put that phone on silent. I'm not sure whose it is. But so yeah, a very distinct role the lawyer has to play in a mediation session. Zaifan, shall we move on to the next stage? Before we do that, and we have a few guests with us who will be also speaking to us very soon. I just want to mention that there are a few videos that we will be releasing tonight and tomorrow. One of them is, as I said, is Ms. Rukmani Menon. We also have a video with Mr. Jawad Muhammad, who is a senior mediator based in Chennai and Delhi, which will also be where he talks about the joy of being a mediator. He's a very senior mediator. And I wanted to watch all his videos along with, of course, Justice Kurian Joseph, who just spoke to us in that message early on. So just like these senior mediators, Muhammad Jawad, Rukmani Menon, and Justice Kurian Joseph will be having a lot of senior I would say mediators from across the country and also globally joining us. In the past, we have done some fantastic webinars with stalwarts from the legal fraternity like Justice Nelson Brito, Judge Desmond DaCosta, the popular names that you know. They have come and spoken to us. There are videos of them speaking about mediation online, so you can go and YouTube that and you will also find that. I'm going to hand this over straight to Zaifan now, and we'll come back for a Q&A session in a few minutes.
Okay. So today, for our GMRC initiative, which is a very unique initiative, We have a very few people who are very eminent personalities here who have come to show their support. I would like to welcome and extend a strong welcome to Advocate Carlos Alvarez Ferreira for obliging to be present over here and showing us support to us as a beacon of faith that we can do wonders with this initiative of us. I now request you, sir, to kindly address the gathering.
Reverend Father Roland Coelho, Provincial of Goa's Jesuit Province, Dr. Rita Paez of Nirmala Institute, the mother who was here. I'm sorry my voice, I've lost my voice because I had some laryngitis, but still I didn't want to disappoint Father Roland, and I said I will come for this function. There is an old Sanskrit saying which is Santosham Param Sukham, which is satisfaction is the ultimate happiness. When I embarked to be a lawyer, I never saw the legal profession as a means of making money. Let me be honest. I always thought of doing something good, achieving a good name. And let me say one thing. My father didn't want me to be a lawyer, and I told him, I want to be a lawyer better than you. So my aim was always to do something bigger, and that came from my Jesuit training. And how do you know that? How can you make out? I've always been very bold to state that on our Jesuit logo were these words, alphabets, A, M, D, G. And as students of Loyola, I asked Father Savio Rodriguez, who was that time our history teacher, had not yet become the principal. I said, Father, everyone cracks a joke that this is Adam Melo Dobian Gello. But what is the real meaning? Then he said it is Ad Maiorem Dei Gloriam, which means for the greater glory of God. That's the motto of the Jesuits. And I asked him, why is it not the greatest? Why is it just greater in superlative, a comparative? So then he said, we believe whatever we do is the best, but still someone else can come and do something better. So, and I thought, if that can be my motto in life, I don't know why I didn't think of being a Jesuit priest. but that was something which always inspired me and drove me to always searching for something new, something different, and even arguing cases different from the ordinary. And that is the way I decided to help people. Large number of people I help free of cost. Sometimes I was asked, are you doing a charity show? But I felt, some people could not even afford. I will just tell you one case. There was a particular, I don't know how many of you knew the Kanakona road before this 4-laning came. It was a very narrow road after you came down the gut. And suddenly they had made a 4-lane broad, it was not 4-lane, but it was the size of a 4-lane broad road. So the road from the right used to go to the left and onto that broad road. And there was a bus, Kadamba bus, which went down that road. While taking the turn, that was a very dangerous turn, because it was avoiding an oncoming vehicle, took a sharp left, hit a motorcycle, dragged that motorcycle down. The motorcycle pilot, he was a motorcycle pilot, he died in the field. And I did that case in the High Court, getting compensation of almost 20 lakhs for them. When I was asked my fee, I looked at the case and I saw it was a widow and 2 minor children. And I said no. In fact, the person who came was her own brother-in-law. And I said, no, I don't want any fee. This is blood money. I will not take any money. I told the High Court, by law, the minor children's money is invested in fixed deposit till they are majors. But I told the High Court, as far as the widow is concerned, even 50% of her money, please invest it for at least 3 or 5 years, because she's a tribal woman and you never know who may con her. Court accepted my suggestion and blocked 50%, and 50% was released to her. Many years later, maybe about 20 years later, a young girl came with her old mother and some other girl, and I didn't know who they were. And she just came to the side and she just, touched my feet, and I said, "What is this? No one normally comes like that." And then she said, "You did this case of when my father died. I've become a PSI today, and I've come to thank you." So, gratitude, we don't require money. There are people, there's an old saying, "Kam zale ho is mellow." People forget you. There are many people I've seen also. After you've done work for them, they just disappear. But I have never done it with an intention of an investment in future. Why I say this is, many times, many disputes can be resolved by mediation, by a good word. And very often, it's a small misunderstanding which causes big battles. It's a small misunderstanding in a family which can cause a lot of tensions. I had a particular case where 2 brothers fought in Margao. And when one brother came to me, he said to me, "I want you to get a stay order against that one." And I managed to get the stay order. It went to the High Court, strongly fought battle. I still won it. 6 months later, my client says to me, "Sir, I'm going to London." I said, "Why?" "I'm migrating. I don't want to suffer this every day, shouting from the other side." And that was the sad part of it. "What are you doing with your flat now?" "I'm locking it," he said. But he wanted to lock it just to make sure that the other brother doesn't enjoy. I said, "Then what's the fun? You better give it to him, let him enjoy. You enjoy there, let him enjoy here." He didn't listen, but after 1 year he came and said, "Every day I thought of what you said. I've come to ask you to do the papers, please give it to my brother." So you see, there are things which can happen. It's all a matter of how we put it across. Even we as lawyers, I was once told, "Why do you tell your clients the truth of what is the matter? You're a lawyer, you need to earn." And I said, "I don't want to earn and get no sleep. I want my children also to live happily. I don't want curses when I know the case is not good. I'm not going to keep dragging on a case and charging him for every hearing till the day it comes as a zero result." So I think I don't want to. Unless, of course, there is a very heavy playing client who tells me, "I want to trouble that fellow." Those are those very rare instances. But otherwise, genuinely, we can, I say one thing, as lawyers we can help. You see, mediation is a long known form of dispute settlement. Forget courts. Even though Section 89 of the Civil Procedure Code has now introduced mediation, there was mediation. If you look back and did mediation, people sat in the village communities, they did mediation. Even in Goa, even about 15-20 years back, I remember certain families, the elders got together and they decided and people accepted it. Certain problems have arisen with those settlements because they were not recorded in writing with proper documentation. But everyone agreed this house goes for A and that one goes for B and the C will take money, and they went. But then when you come back, the documents are still in the grandfather's name. But I think now with modern techniques, I think people are advising, please document everything and put it in black and white so everything becomes crystal clear. When people are there together, as we were hearing this particular case, in the lifetime of the parents, everything is fine. When one of the parents goes, it's the most unfortunate thing that we see across Goa. Why are many of our houses in ruins? Beautiful houses. It's because everyone is fighting for a share. Forgive me for saying something, but it's the truth. Someone stays in Canada, someone stays in US, they will come for 1/200 share. They will stay in a 5-star hotel. They'll not give up that right. While this house is crumbling here, The one who stays here says, why should I repair that house? Everyone is coming for a share. So I think we need to awaken to this. While I'm in favor of our Portuguese Civil Code, which gives equal rights to everyone, imagine a house which has 8 children. Then how do you divide that house? Sometimes the house is indivisible, not because it is property-wise it may be 2,000, but the way the house is built, it may be built only for one family to live. You can't actually put a line across, because the kitchen will end up being that side and the bathrooms on the other side. So these old houses are like that. So therefore, I think we need to resolve these issues with quick speed. We should not allow things to fester. And then as it boils down, you will see things growing completely in a weird and different direction. And then what happens is, we lose that bond of family. Most important is family. The purpose of keeping that civil code was family law. The family law was to keep the family unit together, so that no stranger comes in. So it's all within the family. But then it sometimes proves to be counterproductive, where we see family disputes arising. And then families don't seem to see eye to eye. I always urge everyone, whether it is in civil law, sometimes even in criminal, it's easy to file a case. It's easy to set the law in motion. But how much will you get satisfaction over the years? Mediation will help you resolve a dispute amicably. Mediation also keeps parties in private conversation. Remember this, because you're with the mediator. And now we have experts in mediation. There are people who get trained in mediation. Thirdly, mediation sometimes resolves issues which you never knew about. Mediation opens channels of communications, because it is when you open a channel of communications, you sometimes know what is lurking behind the mind of someone else. Sometimes it may be imaginary, sometimes it may be real. The real may sometimes be trivial, sometimes it may be trifling, but it may also be something which is really causing an eyesore or a problem every day, which can be avoided or can be totally attended to. So these are things which mediation helps. It avoids the long litigious process. Imagine when people come to me and ask me, how long will this litigation take? I tell them I'm not a prophet. It could be 3 years, can be 20 years. It all depends on how your opponent fights. Sometimes it's not the opponent, how your opponent's lawyer fights. So if it's kept on dragging, you might as well pass it on to the next generation. So this is the way litigation sadly goes on. And then it doesn't result in positive energy nor positive ending. Even if you win, you have destroyed a family. If you have won, you have destroyed a relationship. So therefore, I always urge that mediation should be brought in. There's also one more thing what happens in mediation, in litigation. Every day that a person goes into the court, previous day he is under tension. He or she is under tension. The day that court hearing comes, the lawyer has not turned up. Where is the lawyer gone? The judge is calling out the case. You are under tension. You may get heart attack there only in the courtroom. Then when the case comes, something happens you don't understand and the date is given. Then you say everything is like this only. They're just giving dates and dates. Sometimes you go to the court all in time, cutting traffic jams, whatever it is, keeping a day off, and the judge does not turn up. So you see many things happen, and then every hearing, it's suffering. Every day you will realize how that kind of a litigation day is causing you suffering. So therefore I feel that this move of the Jesuits along with Nirmala Institute to have a mediation center is a very welcome one. I also want to request you all both to kindly think of it the government of Goa is trying to have a mediation center, international mediation center. If you all can keep your infrastructure ready and you all can make it available, you never know, you can have international mediators coming here. And I would urge you to please explore these options, whatever help I can give you to moving it forward, because finally, though you all may do it in form of charity, you will also need something to sustain. So therefore, let us be alive and realistic, and I think we need to go forward. I'm not saying take sponsorship from the government, please don't. The moment you start taking money from the government, they start squeezing you. So I would say there will be people who will give in to this good initiative. There will be companies which will be also helping. There will be people who will bring others on board. And otherwise people, you notice, for mediation or for even arbitration, people are flying to Singapore, they're going to London. Why? They can avoid all that, they can come here. And we can have disputes resolved without having to go through lengthy process. I thank you for giving me this opportunity, and I'm very happy that this mediation center takes off, and I wish it all the best. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your enlightening words. I know it has been a privilege to have you here, and would like to trouble you for a little more time just to come up on stage. We would like to felicitate you for coming here and being a part of this initiative and this inaugural initiative. I would like to call upon Father Roland to kindly give the token of appreciation. Requesting everyone to kindly give a round of applause.
I'm sorry, I forgot to make reference to Justice Brito sitting here. He's a very eminent judge and who's been one of those genuinely helping people when he was a judge of the High Court and including the lower courts. Please give a round of applause to Justice Brito.
Thank you so much, sir. And now actually we would like to felicitate Justice Nelson Pedru for coming over and showing his presence and being a support for us for a long amount of time. We have some few additional people we would like to felicitate today. I would like to call upon the principal of GR Kade College of Law and to accept a small token of appreciation for being present over here. I would also like to call upon the management of the Agnel Institute of Education, that is Father Agnel and Father Isaac, to kindly come up on stage for a small token of appreciation. Father Agnel and Father Isaac. And finally, we would like to felicitate a person without whom we would not be here. And for that, I would like to request Jonathan Rodriguez to kindly come up and accept this token of appreciation for all that he has done. Today we are here because of his vision and his hard work. kindly. Thank you, Father Roland. And now I call upon Jonathan to kindly take over for the Q&A session.
Thank you, Zyphon. That was unexpected, but thank you so much. I'm a bit overwhelmed right now. But it's nice to see a full packed conference room. Zyphon was very worried a few days ago. He said just 15 people have signed up. But then I told him the way South Goans work is that we make up our Sunday plans on Saturday night. So that's how we now see a big crowd that's turned up. Thank you so much. And I just want to kind of refer back to what Advocate Carlos said a few minutes ago about this taking disputes past generations, from one generation to another generation. One of the moments that inspired me to be a mediator was when I was in law school. I had to go and do a journal, and I had to go to one court in Mapsa, and I was just observing things, and I was supposed to write back about what I observed in court. And I saw this elderly gentleman. He was probably around 70 years old, and I talk about this incident, by the way, in my TEDx talk, where he stood up because his lawyer went and represented him. He said something in front of him, and neither could he hear it nor could I, because the fans were so loud. You've seen the fans in some of our courts. They are so well designed that the client sitting behind can't hear what the lawyer is saying. So and the lawyer said something, and then he walked out of the court, and he was trying to get his attention, but the lawyer just walked past him. So I got a chance to speak to him later on, and I asked him, what is this case all about? And he said it's a simple dispute of a 100-meter wall that it's been running for around 30 years. And then I asked him, do you know anything more about the case? What is it all about? And he said, I have no idea. It's something that my father started a few years ago, and I'm not dragging this on. And I just found that I found it a bit strange that that's something that can even happen. So these kind of cases, we all are aware of these things. I'm sure most of us in this room either have a conflict that we're facing right now, or know someone who's having a conflict right now. And our request to you is to be ambassadors. I know we're a small group here, we're less than 100 people, but you are part of history. When you look back at this in 2033, you were the first group who turned up here, and you will be responsible for shaping what GMRC goes out to be. And of course, Advocate Carlos has opened up our minds to other possibilities of collaboration. We have received positive feedback from both our law schools in Goa, both in the north and south, that they would like to work closely with us to shape what we want to do. And we will work closely with them. Zyphon's going to be the point of contact as a coordinator. I will be mentoring him as an admin person. We will bring on board more people. Our mediators are trained, as I said, extensively. And as Zyphon was saying earlier on, this is a very secular initiative. I know it's hosted at a Christian institute, at both Christian-run institutes, but it's a very secular initiative. As you get to know GMRC more, you will realize the composition of its mediators, its advisors. We'll have people from all walks of life, who are really interested in making this happen in Goa. So yeah, I'm going to stop talking now, and it's over to you. Any comments you would like to share? You want to say something? I would suggest, to keep it short, and at the same time, if you want to have a question, shoot it across to me, and I'll try and answer it the best way possible. Anyone would like to ask a question with regards to anything that you saw or heard over the last 2 hours now? Yeah, the stage is yours now. Everyone out there. Right. Absolutely. So it's I don't want to use legal terms, but we call it pre-litigation or pre-court mediation. So absolutely, you can reach out to us, and that's the whole thing, as Advocate Carlos is saying, that there is no need to drag this on if you have not tried this out. And as I was saying earlier, try this out for a few hours, see if this is making sense, because then you have at least tried this out and you have closed this window, and then you can go down and explore other alternatives, right? And that's a very good question, because a lot of people think if they try mediation, it's going to take away some legal right that they can't go to court. Absolutely not. All right, there's nothing that goes on where you say, oh, because I tried mediation, you can't go and pursue your rights in court. You can always do that. No one's taking that right away from you. All right, it's, I don't know from where that myth or rumor came around, but it's absolutely untrue. So the other windows and doors of a dispute resolution will always remain open to you.
I would like to tell the audience here that in Margao we have a mediation and conciliation center attached to the district court. And that is close to the court, so you can always go and get your dispute settled there. And the judges also can contribute to that. I remember there were some anticipatory bail applications. I told them, why don't you go to the center? They went to the center, settled the dispute, withdrew the applications and went home.
Thanks, Justice Pedru. I think, it's, there are, and I want to admit this is not the first time someone has tried to open a mediation center in Goa. For all of us in the legal fraternity to know that a lot of people have tried in the past. I myself, over the last 3 years, have been approached by 4 different sets of groups to try and open a mediation center. But it just did not have the right drive. It just did not, I don't know what did not work out, but I think we are now here. We are going to put in 100%. This is a collaborative effort. It's not just going to be PAI and NIE from now on. It's going to be all of you contributing to this. And I think that's a very strong point to make the Justice Pedru. I don't know what the administration is over there and the success rates are at the mediation center. And they do both commercial mediation as well? All sorts of mediation. All right, so you have other opportunities, and I think you should know that there are other opportunities besides GMRC. What we can stand for are the quality and the standards that we will bring to the services that we want to provide. Okay. Yeah. All right. I think, and that's once again a very strong point you're making of people who have been, really pushing for this, pushing for mediation to kind of work in Goa. Justice Pedru just mentioned that he was trained as a mediator in 1997. And I wanted to ask him, what took you so long? You should have taken off the judge's cloak and become a mediator soon after that. But of course, he had a different mission, and that was, of course, to bring justice to those who, for cases that might not be able to be mediated. Justice Kurian Joseph is another example. While he was in court, he would push parties to try mediation. But of course, not every case can be mediated, right? If it's a constitutional matter, it's a criminal matter, these cases cannot be mediated. And so there will be a lot of work that will be done pre-mediation to identify the right cases for mediation as well. Anyone's thinking about commercials? What are the commercials of GMRC mediation? Anyone has a question in their minds? Because yesterday we had a question on commercials. We'll get back to you on these questions about what the commercials are going to look like. I don't want to throw out a number right now because we're working that out. We should have a proper understanding of what that's looking like in 2 weeks' time from now. A lot of the documentation that we are providing, the quality and the standards, is going to a rigorous check. We're working with CAMP, we're working with other organizations to make sure we're having the right standards set for us so that we can get off on the right foot. Another thing that I want to assure you from GMRC side is that we're not going to rush into disputes. Okay, we're not going to take multiple cases and have 3-4 mediations a day. No, we know this is very sensitive, and we know we have big goals and big ambitions, but we want to start small. We want to make sure that we're giving you that attention and time to every case that comes in, every kind of conflict that comes into mediation. We can mediate in different languages. My Konkani doesn't work in North Goa. As you know, all of us South Goans struggle with that. But I can, for example, I can mediate in English or Konkani or Hindi. As I said, we will be onboarding other mediators. Gayatri, can you mediate in any other language besides those 3? Marathi, there you go. So if someone's with Marathi, we can mediate in Marathi.
Though I'm Sashtikar, I contested elections in North Goa.
Now you're making me feel bad. So, yes, sir, go ahead. Right.
Council parents who are making wills and prevent it from getting into the mess it does, because sometimes they get the backlash flows. So continue the experience with your father had done it after discussing, it would have been without the backlash.
I agree with you, sir. You know what, I went to sleep last night with an exact thought in my mind, and I said, I need to share this with my other JMIC colleagues.
I said, this is a great place that we can work this out. You're right, you're absolutely right. I have been part of family mediation disputes this way exactly because people think, you know, I often, people think I joke when I say I have made a will. They're like, why have you made a will? First of all, they ask me, have you saved that much to make a will? But the point is, people take this very lightly. We don't like talking about the end of things, and it could be end of relationships, it could be end of life. We don't like talking about it, you know, so we're like, why do we need to do a will now? You know, it's something that we take for granted. And your point is absolutely right. Our focus at JMIC is not there right now, but that's a great idea. I think someday down the line, if we can help prevent conflicts in such a way that we help parties come to the table, because at the end of the day, what they were doing is sorting out the terms of conditions of that contested will, right? So someday in the future, yes, thank you for that idea. I'm glad it came out from your mind before I could say it out loud. Yes. Okay, sorry, can we have another mic passed around? Oh, great. Thank you very much. Oh, okay, sorry. Okay.
Most families in Goa are split across different states.
Right.
Means they migrate from here because of work and other pressures. And as such, you'll find that most cases can't go to because the parties are not in the same state.
Right.
And families are broken across different places. Is there some facility that's going to come up which is able to bring them together?
Yeah, that's a great question once again, and something that's very relevant to our society back here in Goa. First of all, let me break that down. First of all, thanks to COVID in a way, we got acquainted with doing things online. Now most mediations happen online. Camp mediation in Bangalore is run by one of very senior mediator, Arupe. She mediated a dispute a couple of years ago where one party was in Kolkata, another sibling was in the US, and the father, who was bedridden, was in Bombay. That mediation would never happen in person because, first of all, the siblings coming down to Bombay, the father not being able to move, all over Zoom, sorted out in 3.5 months. So, yes, it can be done online now. Secondly, mediation has no jurisdictional borders. If there is already a court case going on, the first things that lawyers would have to do is speak to each other, meet the judge in the court well and say that we want to try mediation, so the case is paused, of course, and then you come back with a court case paused, you try mediation out for a few hours, find a settlement, go back, and that's it. The agreement is then converted into a court decree. So, very much possible again.
Thank you.
Yes. I'll just give it to you first.
Okay, this is in connection with the case which is already there in the court for the past 22 years. And this is with the sister and the sister-in-law. So what I wanted to know is, they already know the status of the case by now because 22 years. But if one person, the sister-in-law, initiates mediation, and if the sister refuses, then what is the alternative? And is something going to happen in this case?
Well, I'm an optimist, so as long as I have seated down, as long as I have sat down with the other side and despite using my best skill set, the other person has said no, I will continue to believe that I can bring the other side to the table, and so will my fellow mediators believe the same. Because we believe that when conversations happen, especially when a lawyer sits down with a client, a lawyer will ask, because the lawyer is thinking, I need to win this case with my client in court. Some of the questions that the lawyer will ask the client are different to what a mediator will ask the client. Because the mediator is looking for a very collaborative approach. So there are conversations with this party who seems stubborn, who seems like it's never going to happen, which might happen, and we have seen the magic of mediation take place, where someone who is not amenable to speaking suddenly is agreeable to it. I've had cases, once again, referring back to an example, Carlos mentioned about someone coming back later and saying, I want to give that property back to my brother. With people who have shut me down in 30 seconds. I've done a lot of these kind of situations where someone comes and says, I want to initiate a mediation, but you please bring the party to the table, say that I want to try to talk and work it out.
The other party, the moment I call them up, 30 seconds, they've cut the call. The moment I introduce myself and mediate and I say the other person's name. So then we find different ways. We send emails, we send very nice messages, make sure that we're not harassing them at the end of the day. So it's done in a very it's done in a very proper way, which are according to international standards. We will keep pursuing them without making sure that we're not harassing them. And hopefully they will listen to us. Sometimes even the word, let's say for example, I'm going to use my mediators' names because they will forgive me. Let's say Gayatri reaches out to me and says, Zina is a friend, and Gayatri says, can you please initiate this mediation with Zina? But I can't see her face. I don't want to take that call and speak to her. Can you do it? And I pick up the phone and I speak to Zina. She cuts my call in 2 minutes. But in 2 minutes, I have managed to tell her that Gayatri wants to talk to you about the situation. She wants to dialogue. I've used very key words, and they are trained to do that. We are trained to make sure that those first few moments with you come across. You've got the message you need. You've heard the word mediation. You've heard the word dialogue. You've heard the word willing to speak. All these kind of things. She stays with that. It stays within her. It kind of becomes part of the system. It processes. Some days something is going to change and she's going to come back. So that's what we believe. At least in her mind, she knows that Gayatri is ready to talk about it. So that's what we hope to do. Sometimes people do not see an alternative because they are only fed with one kind of information that the only way you can do this is winning this one way. So yeah. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Yeah. One of the steps which you have mentioned in the mediation process was talking about the settlement agreement, right? Yeah. So how legally binding is that? Because many a times when you do a settlement, like, you have got a lot of this laws which you have to abide by. Okay, and if it is a property matter, many a times, like, it may have certain bindings. Okay, so how would that be vetted, or like, how would that be? This is one question of mine.
I'll take one other to get my chain of thought. So, great question once again. First of all, any mediation settlement agreement is legally binding because both parties have signed on it, so it is a contract. What happens is that sometimes it's not enforceable. There's a difference between two things. It is legally binding. The only thing is that, what happens is that if you come to GMRC, before you go to court, what you're doing is basically a pre-litigation mediation, right? Or before you go to court mediation. So in that case, as of today, there's a mediation bill in Parliament, by the way, and the Law Ministry is really pushing for it. We have worked very hard on it, me and my colleagues in Bangalore and a lot of other places to push that bill. But as you know how it works, it's stagnated in Parliament for quite some time, almost a year. But once that passes, this thing will be taken care of. But as of today, suppose we start a mediation tomorrow, and it's not to court, what we will do is we will legally, and I know I'm going to throw a few legal jargons now, it will be a conciliation settlement agreement, which is enforceable in court under the arbitration and conciliation law. So it becomes a conciliator settlement agreement. So it is enforceable. Right? A lot of parties don't want to do that. They just want to have an understanding. So they just do an agreement which they say we will legally abide by. But suppose they say, no, I don't want a conciliation settlement agreement and I want to keep it as an agreement. Just a normal agreement that we have signed on it. Suppose one party dishonors the agreement, which is now a contract. It is still legally binding, but you have to go back to court for basically, as a breach of contract or any other, legal procedure that you need to follow. So you've got to go back to the litigation way. But if most parties, they understand why it has to be a conciliator settlement agreement, and then it's done and it's a conciliator settlement agreement. Now if it's already in court, you will tell the judge that we want to take this to mediation, and the judge will give you time for it. Most times, judge will say it depends on how serious the case is. Sometimes the judge will say you have 3 weeks, sometimes 3 months. You have to try mediation and come back to me. And then you go back with the agreement to the judge, and then the judge will convert that into a court decree. So then it's of course enforceable, and it has its ramifications. Yes, sir. I hope I've clarified that for everyone as well, not just.
Can I take another one?
Yes.
Okay. I have seen many times, and which has been expressed here, is the time and the efforts which goes with the affected parties to go to court.
Right.
Why there are so many judges, so few judges. The last time I was there for an online session which you had conducted, and there was Justice Desmond and Justice Pedru were there. Why there are so very few judges which suggest to the parties to go to the mediation? Why there is no information which is given offhand or made come to the public, like, and people are not informed about it? Why there is such a wall which is created?
So that's a tough question. Sabasta, you want to answer that one? That's a good answer. But yeah, I would like to focus on the positives here because I have met a lot of people who don't believe in mediation. But if I had spent time trying to convince someone who doesn't believe in something, then I would be wasting my time. Having said that, I want to work with that person, but I think you have to focus on the ones who believe, and the ones who believe are here in the room. The ones who believe have been partnering with us for quite some time now. But there could be many reasons. As Carlos was saying earlier about what are the intentions, what motivates you to be a lawyer, to be a judge. It could be a lot of motivations, but I think today's generation of lawyers and judges, and when I say generation, I just don't mean the younger lawyers and judges, I mean anyone who's practicing, anyone who is in the judiciary right now, they're all aware of it. In fact, they've all jumped on the bandwagon. They're all talking about mediation. They're at least talking about it. I don't know what they're practicing, but they're there, they're supporting, and I think we want to work with the ones who believe, and that's our focus. Quick questions, and I'm going to answer them in 30 seconds max. Father Cedric is about to kick me out of XCHI.
Mine is a quick question.
Yes.
Yes, first of all, congratulations for setting up GMRC. It has been
to all of us, yes.
To all of your much felt need. I've been a lawyer for 25 years and I've been struggling, to try and, as he says, convince judges to look at mediation. Now, I have had problems, though I know people like Gayatri, excellent mediators, to get our judges to send parties to what they would call not court appointed mediators. They rather send them to other judges who are trained or the mediation center, but they're very unwilling to send to what they would consider like not court appointed or what would be in a sense private. So how would you look at this as a problem, or do you envisage that this barrier would break and courts would be willing, because they are never willing. I have tried so many times to send to specifically Gayatri, whom I know, and they said no, we would rather send it to our court mediators. So this is one area that I have.
Because first of all, in a lot of other jurisdictions, especially in Bangalore, Bombay, Delhi, it's happening a lot. Judges are referring cases to private mediators, private mediation centers. The reason why it's not happening in Goa, I think my simple answer is that they did not have an alternative. Now they know that GMRC exists, and I hope they will start doing that. They will probably have
to have the judiciary know about this. I think GMRC can interact with the judges so that they know about it, because they will send someone to to a mediation where they know about you. Otherwise, you're like a stranger. So what I'm only making a suggestion, try to interact with the judges in the judiciary. Invite them maybe for some session. Try to have some program along with them. Then they know about it. They know how serious you are. They know also that you have real trained mediators.
Exactly.
And then afterwards they themselves will recommend. It will not have to be only the textbook of the court mediators.
Yes. And today, small correction. The High Court has trained a number of lawyers as mediators.
But you're also remember one thing. The mental frame of a litigant when he goes into a court mediation as against an outside mediation, that opens up the mind and opens it more freely. I think that will.
I've actually spoken about this point a lot about infrastructure. You see different examples. So the Delhi High Court has Samadhan as a mediation center. It's in the court premises and it's doing well. It's doing very well. Yeah, but it's in the court premises. So when you see the parties in the room, in the mediation room, you see the anxiety still on their faces. I know they're being successful in their settlement rates, but you see the parties' behavior. It's very stressful. Whereas the Bangalore Mediation Center has their mediation center quite far away from their high court. And it's a more relaxed place. It's not ideal, by the way, it looks like a railway station. But, it at least is away from the mediation center. But now compare that to XCHR right here. Sorry, PAI right here. Sorry, I live at XCHR for you. PAI right here, or NIE. When you come to this place, the chances of you being anxious, when you walked in today, if you walked in the first time, you must have felt different just being here. So I think infrastructure is very important, the way you design the rooms and all that stuff, so we're going to pay a little attention to that as well. But yeah, I think it's awareness at the end of the day. Yeah.
Tell us about you. Where are you based in Bangalore?
No, I'm from Kolkata. I'm from South Goa. But I've just moved to London a couple of months ago. I've joined a mediation firm there. Yes, but I will be, as I said, in Zyphon's shadows, mentoring him. And I'll share more about it later. I don't want to keep you waiting. Yes.
First, I would like to thank the Jesuit for the Roland. When it's Jesuit, 100% it's Jesuit. I'm very proud of it. My question is, how we can help 236 families as a society. Is that something which the GMRC will take, or it's only family oriented?
Right, so that's more of a community dispute?
Community dispute.
Yeah, so that's very much something that we want to get into as well. Not right now, but eventually in a few months we want to get there. Right now we're trying to build up our expertise in just family mediations, but we will get into community mediations. And let's speak after this, because I don't want to be sharing details with everyone else. These are very confidential things. So we'll speak about this and how we can get to it. This is community mediation. This is multi-party mediation, which requires a bit more expertise. And if we can't do it ourselves, we will bring in the right resources to help you do it. So yes. Okay, I promised the last question. Anyone? Or we're wrapping it up. The last question.
Since you said last, just wanted to know.
Oh my God, Father Simon, you're wearing a costume. I almost thought you were a cop standing behind me. Come to stop us, but it's past time.
Yeah, 2 centers will be there in Goa.
Yes.
And some AMRC. What about the outreach program? Because
right.
People at the periphery, at the margins, who require this kind of awareness. Is there an outreach program?
Yeah, so we're going to program it to get on road shows, get on campaigns, awareness campaigns, to make sure this message goes across. We want to make sure that most of our mediators can mediate in English, or right now in English, in Konkani and Hindi. That's our expertise right now. But if we are going to places that require Kannada, require Marathi, require other languages, that we have to make sure we have the right mediators as well. Translation is a tool that's used by some mediators, but it's not the same as someone who speaks the same language. I've tried doing that. I've mediated with other mediators from across the globe, speaking other very different languages in Europe, but I've not felt it. And if you don't feel it, then the parties don't feel it. They don't see the connection. So we'll first make sure that we have that group of mediators before we go into spaces that require that kind of mediation. All right. I'm going to be banned from Pedru Arupe if I don't stop now. Thank you so much for finding time on a Sunday evening. You need to remember 3 words before you leave. Mediation, GMRC, Xiphon. He's going to be the coordinator, as I said. Better dressed person than me, so yes, he'll be the one coordinating with you. Yeah, I hope to be meeting you again in person again. We treated this as a soft launch. We'll have a bigger seminar someday in the future, and he will be in touch with you via email and messages. Thank you very much, and good evening.
Okay, now I call upon Father Felix to kindly give the word of thanks.
I don't have a long list to thank. On any occasion you cannot thank without saying you and going. No duty is urgent without giving thanks, and I'm here to do that. I would like to thank the various people, especially the dignitaries who came over here to grace this occasion. Thank you, Sir Carlos Alvarez, for making time to spend time over here and giving your suggestions and your valuable time for us. Thank you, Judge Nelson Pedru. I did not see you, but I was trying to find out where you are. So thank you very much for coming over here. Thank you, Sir Sabah Silva. Thank you, Sir Agnello Fernandez, Isaac Fernandez, coming from the Institute of Agnello Ashram. And most of all, thank each one of you. You're wondering, when I asked Simon what is the number, he said only 20, Father. I don't know whether the people will come. But finally, we got a big number, and I'm very happy, and I thank God for this success of this occasion. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
With this, we end this function. We will now be doing the inauguration of the GMRC room. I kindly request Father Robert to kindly escort to get Carlos Alvarez for the inauguration ceremony. We request each one of you to join us for inauguration of the room. It is going to be held downstairs, but the registration was done a little bit further from there. Thank you everyone. And good evening again. Stay safe and take care.
నాదన రికార్డ్ కొత్త అంటారు అదే లాస్ట్
डायरी कट करते दिन
What's the name? The center will gain success and many people will benefit from it, and there will be more peaceful families and people living in peace. So let us pray for this grace. We shall now put forth some few intentions before the Lord.
Let your response be, Lord, graciously guide the work of our hands. Please repeat.
Lord, graciously guide the work of our hands.
Blessed are you, O Lord, who gave us the command to work, so that by relying on our minds and our hands, we might devote ourselves to perfecting creation. Response.
Lord, graciously guide the work of our hands.
Blessed are you, O Lord, who willed that your Son made flesh for us, should practice the carpenter's trade. Response.
Lord, graciously guide the work of our hands.
Blessed are you, O Lord, who in Christ made the yoke of toil sweet and its burden light. Response.
Lord, graciously guide the work of our hands.
Blessed are you, O Lord, who in your providence move us always to strive to do our best. Response.
Lord, graciously guide the work of our hands.
Blessed are you, O Lord, who receive with favor the offering of our labor, so that it becomes an offering of penance, brings joy to our brothers and sisters, and helps the poor. Response.
Lord, graciously guide the work of our hands.
Blessed are you, O Lord, who graciously chose bread and wine, the work of human hands, as the sacramental signs of the Eucharist. Response.
Lord, graciously guide the work of our hands.
Let us pray. O God, in a wise providence, you are glad to bless all human labor.
the work of our hands and of our minds. Grant that all who plan and conduct business in this office may through your guidance and support come to right decisions and carry them out fairly. We make this prayer to Christ our Lord. Amen.
I invite Justice Pedru along with together.
Wait, where is this thing? Dr. Lita, all men are doing them.
Everybody's ready.
Come.
The Lord be with you. Everybody, God bless you, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Amen. Thank you. Would you come and find me to have a little cup of tea? Sure. Come.
Come, sir. Just for you can take one.
How are you? I remember. What's your name?
Simon.
Which age?
Yeah, I was on the way of
That's good.
Nice difference.
He wants to stand between the two ladies.
Thank you.
We'll just move to our colleagues of the cup of tea. Come, sister.
She met you on some.